shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place that could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the Hound, I am never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's a magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a tailhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, everybody. My name's Henry. Tonight's part 7. My parents started noticing a lot of strange things going on with me that they couldn't explain. I think my mom knew a lot more than she let on. But got to noticing too, right around in 6th, I talked about in there that they started sending people to try to take me out, and it continued the rest of my life. Even today, got people that comes by here and watches, and even during storms, you see people messing around on the road. They go across and walk out in the middle of a field during a thunderstorm just to try to watch and see if they can get an upper hand. But anyway, it never did stop. There's still people watching me and trying to get rid of me. If they can't get me back, then take me out. So anyway, we'll get back to the story. Just want to give you kind of a sense of what I go through every day. Anyway, my parents started noticing more and more strange things, and they decided to take me up to the Edward Casey Foundation and let them check me out, and then they would do a study, and whatever conclusion they come up to, they would let my parents know. And I think that was a way just to before they made any phone calls, they'd have me checked out and get some proof. So anyway, come one sunny day, and we headed down to the airport and flew out to Virginia, out there on the East Coast, and took me to this place and put me in this little room, and they was going to test my abilities. And first person I seen was this gentleman with a kind of looked like a lab coat. And while my parents was talking to him, I was sitting there staring at him. Anyway, finally he noticed me staring and turned around and looked at me, and then he got up from behind the desk where he was at and come over where I was at and squatted down, and he goes, "I hear you're a special child." So I don't know what you mean by special, but there's lots of things going on that I don't really seem like I have control over, and it'd be nice to learn how to control it. He goes, "Well, that's what you're here for, is to be tested." Well, if I'd known then what I know now, I would have tried not to do anything. Because one thing led to another, like the domino effect, and it got totally out of hand and sending me to places I didn't want to be in. But anyway, while the guy was squatted down there talking to me, he goes, "You want to tell me a little bit about your gift?" I said, "Sure." So I was trying to feed in and tell him some of the things that was going on. Well, he acted like he kind of understood some things, didn't understand others, and kept writing on that little notepad, and I started getting kind of frustrated because I couldn't put it in words exactly. So I thought, well, maybe if I just read his mind a little bit, maybe that would show him something. So I proceeded to read his mind and told him exactly what he was going through and what he was thinking. Well, that seemed to shock the hell out of him. He goes, "Can you do that every time?" "Yeah, it comes natural." That's my mom sometimes would start saying something, and I'd interrupt her and break in and finish her sentence for her. Same way as my dad or anybody I was around. I didn't quite understand. And again, I was mainly wanting to know if I could control it and use it to my advantage somehow. Been nice in school, but they run all these batteries of tests, and they proceeded to tell my mom and dad that I was going to have to spend a few days. They should get a motel room somewhere near so they could run back and forth. Well, I wanted to go with them. Nope, I didn't have no choice in the matter. They said it would contaminate the result. So I stayed there, went through their tests, slept in their beds, had the little egg things put on my eyes so I couldn't see. Well, one test led to another, and it seemed like they was getting more and more excited with each test I passed. Well, while I was in there, they was going to put me in a room, and they said they was going to put me to sleep. Well, the only time I'd heard that kind of a term was when they'd put an animal to sleep. Well, I freaked out. Now, mind you, I didn't do anything physical like pick up something and throw it. But everything in that room was tossed around, threw it around, and the people in the room started getting hit. They was ducking down and trying to dodge things, and finally just all of a sudden it stopped. I knew I had something to do with it, but I didn't know how I was doing it. So the guy kind of pushed up out of the way and come over where I was at. He goes, I know that outburst was because you're confused. I said, yeah, I didn't want to be put to sleep. He goes, no, we didn't mean it like you would an animal. So I'm glad you finally clarified that. He goes, it's not your fault. You were just born like this. Yeah, I know. That's what I tell everybody. He goes, well, don't worry about the mess. We'll get that cleaned up. But just be calm. We'll be explaining more in detail instead of just saying something. We'll explain it so you can understand it. Nowadays, they call it layman's terms. So he proceeded to take me into this other room, and it was real dim lighting, kind of like a blue-looking light. And they set me in this chair. Kind of reminds you of almost like a barber chair. They put earphones on me where I couldn't hear nothing except for them talking through them. Well, I noticed there was a window. And while I was sitting there getting the headphones put on, right before they covered my eyes again, I was watching that window and the curtain moved open, and there was men and women in there, and looked like they were sitting behind some kind of machines. There was another window, and that curtain was closed, and then it opened, and there was a person in that room. So the guy proceeded to explain to me. He said, now what I'm going to do is, he had a microphone talking through it to my headset. He goes, now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to be talking to you. You see that person over there in that one room? Yeah. They're going to be looking at pictures. Okay. We want to know, can you tell what picture they're looking at or what they're drawing? Yeah. So they run me through through that batter of test, and I was 100% accurate. That seemed to kind of shock them. Well, the people in the other window were making gestures, so the guy walked over there and they held up a clipboard. And the guy moved his headphone a little bit and was talking to them in the other room. They wanted to take it steps further. So they decided to take one of the people in that room. They was going to give them time to get out to a vehicle, and they was going to drive X amount of space, and they was going to stop and concentrate on what they was looking at, and they wanted me to describe what this person was seeing using their eyes. So I'm sitting there relaxing, and hear the door slam. A few minutes later, they said, okay, this person's sitting here, and they're looking at a particular view. Do you see anything? I told them, yeah. They said, what are you seeing? So I described what I was seeing, and they checked with the guy that was in the vehicle, and I told him everything I was seeing. Well, while they was sitting there talking, I spoke up to the guy and said, "Hey, tell him to flip that ash. It's about to fall down between his legs." By that time, there was a god-awful scream. That guy's cherry fell off his cigarette, fell down there and burnt the side of his leg by his crotch. Everybody in the room started laughing, including me. They said, "Well, for today, the tests are over with. This guy has to go get his leg treated." So they took all the gadgets off of me, these little sticky things on my head. Took my headphones off, and that guy started laughing. He goes, "If you'd have just been a few seconds earlier, he might not have got burnt." Yeah, but we wasn't talking about that. I finally had to break in and just tell you. He goes, "You're just amazing." He said, "Anybody teach you this?" No, this comes natural. Well, he takes me down a hallway, shows me this room, and he goes, "The door won't be locked. It'll just be shut. We have a little nightlight in there. This is where you'll sleep." And he said, "We have to hook you up to these machines, see if there's anything that happens while you're sleeping." "Okay, they ain't gonna hurt me, are they?" He goes, "No, it's painless." So that eased my mind. But they hooked me up, hooked my head up, and thing on my fingers. I guess so they could check my heart rate. They had all these little gadget things hooked up to me, so I laid down on my pillow and covered up with a blanket, sheet. It didn't take me very long, I fell asleep. Well, in my sleep, I was dreaming about walking up down that hallway. Well, next thing I know, I'm hearing somebody hollering what sounds like over a phone, talking to somebody about he's gone. Well, I woke up and I was out in the hallway. Here come a bunch of people in, and they're checking the machine and looking at me and checking me over. And they're like, "How'd you do that?" "How did I do what?" "How did you end up from the bed, nobody seen you, and you was walking in the hallway and nobody seen you, and then all of a sudden you popped up and you're in the hallway physically?" I don't know. I don't know how you control it or how you do it, but that seems to be one of the other curses I've been stuck with. But they wanted to study that. So that night, nor me nor them got very much rest because they'd let me get to sleep, get to dreaming, and next thing you know, I'd disappear out of that bed. It'd literally just vanish. Sometimes I'd turn up in the bathroom. Sometimes I'd turn up outside the building. I'd be out there banging on the door, wanting to get back in. They'd write in their little books. They took pictures. Then they decided they was going to put up a video camera. Okay, that's fine. So they showed me a series of photos. It was pretty spooky looking. Some of them were old houses and ghosts and all kinds of stuff. Well, I went to sleep with that on my mind. So I get sleeping pretty good. And all of a sudden, I started dreaming about them photos and ghosts and all kinds of things. Well, I was woke up to people hollering because I disappeared from my bed again. They wasn't sure where I was at. But when I woke up and realized where I was at, I was scared to death. I was up on top of the building, not knowing even how the hell I got there. I guess I was trying to get away from something. So they climb up in the top of the building, opened a little access door, and run over to where I was at, and they was looking me over, and they took me down through the attic and back down to the room where I was at, and they was over there, some of them talking to themselves and pointing at me and looking at me like I was some kind of cockroach. A lab cockroach. Well, okay. Must be fascinated. Either that or they're scared shitless. I think it was a little bit of both. But there was this one lady in there, and she kind of looked like one of my aunts. And she got these glasses on and lab coat. She's over there. She acts like she's directing them people in there in that other little room. So all of a sudden I seen her take her glasses off and lay them down, and here she come out into the hallway, and she come into the room where I was at. Well, she was asking me what else could I do, with this type of activity. I said, well, what are you expecting me to do? I said, I'm not sure what you're wanting. She goes, can you perform tasks? Yeah. So she goes, I'll be right back. She come back with these box of crayons, a coloring book. She folded the top corner of the one page and showed me the page, and she goes, can you color this while you're in this room asleep? Can you color this picture, and I'll put the crayons in another room? I said, yeah. Yeah, I can do that. So she put the coloring book in there and opened up the box of crayons and set them down, and I went to sleep. I was dreaming about coloring that photo book. Well, the door opened in my room while I was sleeping, and they was watching and videoing. And they didn't see me get up and go to that door, because I was still laying there asleep. I went down the hallway and turned into that one room, opened that door, went in, pulled the chair out, sat down. I was coloring that thing pretty much staying in the line like I was supposed to. When I got done, I put all the crayons back in the box, slid it over there by the coloring book, slid my little chair back, got out, went to the door, opened it, shut it, come down the hallway to my room, opened it, shut it, climbed back inside of my own body. They was shocked and amazed, and quite a bit scared. So they come and woke me up again. They brought the coloring book. Then we had me come into the room where they was at, there behind that window. We watched the footage. You seen the covers move. You seen the door open. You hear the footsteps. Then you hear the other door open. That door shut. Chair gets pulled out. Crayons get pulled out. But they didn't see me doing it. They were just totally shocked and amazed. And I'm a little nervous about this. I don't know how it works, but it's just like it comes natural, just like breathing. So then they told me I could sleep the rest of the night, no more tests till morning. Next morning I got up bright and early. Of course, nowadays I'm older, so I sleep in a little longer. Back then, I'd early to rise. So, they take me down to the canteen and feed me. While we're sitting down there was a guy down there that was a little bit strange. He just kept staring, and that got on my nerves. Every so often, he'd cock his head and look at me like I was some kind of weirdo. So I hurried up and ate my breakfast and took my stuff, put it in the trash, put my tray up with my plates on it. Started to leave, and this guy said, "Hey, boy, what are you in here for?" To be tested like you, probably. He goes, "You think you're that good?" All of a sudden, the carton of milk that he'd been drinking out of exploded on him. I said, "Does that tell you anything?" I just turned around and left. They kind of laughed. They thought that was kind of funny. He didn't think it was too funny. It kind of scared him. I didn't see him the rest of the time I was there. So we go in. They're going to do another test. This time it started out being ping pong balls. They set 4 ping pong balls in front of me and asked me what I could do with them. I said, "What do you want me to do with them? Am I supposed to make them move with my mind? Or do you want me to explode them?" They said, "Well, whatever you can do." Well, the first 2 balls, I rolled one, bounced the other across the floor without touching it. The next 2 exploded on the table. I seen them over there just writing in that little notebook. But there's one guy in there, I just did not like him. Couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I didn't like him. He was kind of one of them straight-laced people that was all business and no play. So he took his glasses off, laid them there on his desk in front of him. And I thought, well, being a prankster, I'll give him a thing to think about. Well, he's rubbing his eyes and yawning. When he went to reach for his glasses, he couldn't find them. He looked all over in there, and all of a sudden he looked in there where I was at. There was his glasses sitting in front of me at my table. They was busy writing their damn notebooks again. All of a sudden I heard one door open, and they come down to the next doorway, and they opened that one up to my room. And the guy said, "That's pretty funny." I said, "Well, you oughtn't to be such a stick in the mud. It was just a joke." He goes, "No, really, that was funny." He said, "Can I have my glasses back?" "Yeah." So he reached down and took his glasses and started laughing. Then he rubbed the top of my head. I just kind of laughed. He said, "I'll be in the other room if you need me." Okay. So they was in there talking amongst themselves, writing. Well, after a little bit I started getting thirsty. I asked if I could have a glass of tea or a soda. Well, one of the people in there that's administering these tests was like, "As soon as we're done." But yet they was sitting there drinking stuff in the room they was at eating. So they asked me to perform another test. I just sat there and like, I ain't doing it. I'm thirsty. They said, "Well, we'll get you something to drink as soon as we're done." I said, "No, until I get something to drink, we are done." They tend to get a little pissy about it. I was like, "Okay, that's the way you all want to play? That's fine. You have no clue how big of a prankster I can be." So they're explaining to me about the next test, and next thing you know, their drinks all turn over on their table. I said, "You sure you don't want to take a break and we all go get something to drink? Looks like y'all need something to drink too." They didn't seem to like that, but they busy writing notebooks again. So we all decided to take a 10-minute break. We all go and get something to drink, come back. They said, well, are you ready for the test? Yeah. They brought me in an ashtray, put 4 matches in there. Then they took another match and laid it in the center of the 4, made a square, and laid one in the center. They told me to name which match was going to light first. So I would name the match. I'd set that one on fire by looking at it. Eventually I did all the matches, and they write down in the little books. So I was starting to get kind of tired, sitting on my butt so long. So they said, we got 2 more tests. I said, well, how long would they last? And they said, a couple hours. Like, what time do we quit? I'm tired. They said, when we're finished. That ain't good enough answer. Finally, the guy that I took his glasses, he was like, we'll quit at 3 o'clock. Okay. So I'm sitting there and they're talking, and I'm not paying attention to them. I'm paying attention to that clock and their watches. All of a sudden they looked down at their watches and looked up at the clock. It said 3 o'clock. They started writing in their notebooks. They come in and they said, that's funny. I said, well, since it says 3 o'clock, I'm going to lay down. I'm tired. You guys have put me through a battery of tests, and I need a little bit of rest. They said, well, we'll stop for today, but we are going to test you while you're sleeping. It was like a hospital. By the time you get to sleep, they wake you up. Got real aggravating. I started getting real frustrated. I was like, I got to have enough of this. It's time for me to go home. I ain't getting no rest. I'm tired and wore out. So they hooked me up to this machine and let me lay there and get some sleep. And I knew they was going to wake me up. I had a surprise for them. I'm laying there and they're watching the monitors and things, and there's 2 people in the room where I'm at, and the rest of them are in these rooms watching my room. And I'll be damned, I wasn't asleep maybe an hour. That ain't no kind of sleep. I need a good 8 hours. A brain's a muscle. When you overwork it, you gotta let it rest. Otherwise, stuff starts going haywire. I'm laying there and heard the door open and shut. Well, that woke me up. Now I'm getting frustrated. And they're starting to go through what they're going to be doing, and I'm tired as hell. So I was like, I've had enough. Needless to say, everything except for the bed and me was being tossed around that room. They all cleared the room, left the doorway open, and watching through the doorway. I shut the door, locked it, while I was laying there on the bed. Man, I could hear them talking on the intercom. Open that door, open that door. I said, I told you guys I was tired. Now, I can't control all this. And I'm starting to get real frustrated because I'm getting exhausted. Somebody's going to get hurt. And I said, it's going to be my fault, and I ain't even aiming to do it. So I unlocked the door. They come in, and man, did they give me a chewing. I'd had about enough of that. I said, all I'm asking for is let me sleep till morning. They said, we got to give you these tests. How are we going to give the results to your parents? I said, I don't know, but I need some damn sleep. Somebody's going to get hurt, and it ain't going to be me. I said, the more frustrated I get, the worse it's going to be. They decided to go ahead and start another test. So I'm laying there and they're explaining what they're going to do. My mind, when I started getting frustrated, it started doing these here side sparks, what I call it, misfiring. And when I get hollered at a lot, or I get really pissed off, or somebody's hollering and screaming where I'm at, I don't like that. It makes my brain go psh, 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 and just like it's misfiring. It's not focused on one particular thing. It starts just misfiring all over the place. I'm getting real frustrated. I'm tired. All I want to do is sleep. You got to concentrate on this. You got to concentrate on that. Then they started raising their voice because they wasn't getting no responses. Well, my brain started doing that. I'd warned them. There wasn't a room in that building that shit wasn't moving. Lights were flickering. Some light bulbs were blowing. Needless to say, they come running into my room, got me up. I guess they called the motel where my parents were and told them to come and get me. So we went back to the motel room and I laid down trying to sleep. The phone rang. They answered it. And my mom was told to come over and they would give her what results they have. Dad decided to sleep there with me until she got back. Man, it was a whole bunch of printouts. Scribble lines. I didn't understand none of it. Didn't make no sense to me. Didn't seem like I got no help. Basically, they were trying to capitalize on my misfortune, my curse. So, next evening, we took the rental car and went to the airport and come home. Well, my mom must have been talking to these people that brought me and give me to my parents, give them the lowdown on what was going on, so they decided that it was time for them to come and check me out. Okay. So they sent a group of people down and took me to this building. They was reading over the charts and looking at me and asked me if I was doing this on purpose. I said, well, I can't control it, but you get me pissed off and shit's gonna happen. And I said, as far as slipping from out of my bed down the hallway to color, that was one of their tests. They said they'd be in touch. So they writing their little books and they left. We went home. Following year, I was supposed to start school. So I go to kindergarten just like everybody else. Had a nice teacher. I liked her. Well, kindergarten was over with and I was supposed to go to first grade. That's where the shit really hit the fan. First couple days of school, noticed the girls in the higher levels, 4th and 5th and 6th grade, on recess would be trying to pick me up, carry me around, because I was just real small. Well, went on about 2 weeks. one night we got the call. Mom, Dad told me, said, tonight we go talk to the principal. She was a nice lady. Big old lady, white-headed, and had a big old beehive on top of her head. That was a hairdo she had. Big old glasses. Looked like hoot owl eyes. She was a nice old woman. So that night, there was a secret meeting at their house, the principal's house. So I'm eating and playing. Next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock. My parents tell me to go in and run the bath water, take a bath. Then they picked me out some clean clothes, and I was supposed to be kind of dressed up like I was going to go to school. Not to be in my old dirty play clothes. So I did as they said. Got dressed. And by then it was going on 9 o'clock because I was sitting there playing with toys in the bathtub. So we get in the car and head to the village, where I went to school, and turned on this one street and went to the principal's house and pulled in front of her house, and it was dark. So we get out of the car, and there the principal and her husband is standing at the door with the porch light on. So we walked across the little ditch bridge there, which was basically 2 2x6s put side by side so you wouldn't step in the water when it rained. We went to the door, and they welcomed us into their house. We went in through the sun porch, and back then they called them mud porches, and went into the kitchen, and took a seat. Well, I won't use the principal's name. She's done passed on, but I don't think her family might not appreciate that. But anyway, just know she was a nice old lady, big lady. Real tall and had a big old giant beehive hairdo. Real soft-spoken. I'd never seen her be mad before. Anyway, she's looking at me and she goes, "Hey, Henry, come here." So I walk over there and she slides her chair back and she said, "I'm going to pick you up, put you in my lap." Okay. She picked me up, set me there, and she goes, "Now, what we're about to talk about, this does not mean you're stupid, because you're not. But," she said, "I have a dilemma. You're a little bitty guy. All these other kids are a lot bigger than you. And these girls carrying you around like you're a baby doll. 'Cause you ain't much bigger than probably some of their dolls they have." Okay. She goes, "You're just a little bit too small to start school. You need to wait another year." Okay. I get it. She goes, "Now this does not mean you're stupid. It'll give you a chance to grow." Okay. "So I don't have to go to school tomorrow?" "Nope." Well, I was sitting there eating some cookies and stuff that she put out on the table and drinking milk. And my parents, they was talking to her and discussing my life as if I wasn't even sitting there, which was fine with me because I didn't understand some of the shit they were talking about anyway. Next thing you know, I start getting tired, start back to go to sleep, and they called the end of the meeting, and my dad picked me up, give me a ride out to the car. He put me in there, and we waved goodbye and headed down the road. Shit, we wasn't gone very long, and I was sound asleep. Well, go to bed that night. That's where kind of my nightmare really started. I slept good that night. No problem. I woke up next morning, stretched real big. Like, good. All these other kids got to go to school. I can stay home, do whatever I want. And then I heard it. It was my mother. Henry, get up and get your ass ready. You got to get to school. Like, what's she talking about? Wasn't she at that meeting? So I proceeded to tell her I don't have to go to school. You guys decided that last night. Principal told me I don't got to go to school. Get ready. Don't be a pain in my ass. Well, I'm confused, so I started arguing the point. You get ready, or you're going to get it. Well, now I'm really confused. So I get dressed. Hurry up, eat my breakfast. She takes me out to the car. We head toward the school. So what the hell? She pulls up out there in the front by the flagpole. So I grab my little lunchbox, get out of the car. Head in there to double doors there at the front of the school by the office. Walked in and I seen some of the kids I was in kindergarten with. Okay. So I heard the 8:30 bell ring, which meant go to class. So I found the kids I was in school with. I followed them, and they turned into the 6th grade classroom. Maybe there's something I didn't know about. So I followed them. And I was trying to ask a couple of them, what are we doing in this room? We don't belong in this room. We got to go out that door, down the sidewalk, to the part of the school that's detached. That's the first and kindergarten room. They just kind of looked at me like I was nuts. So I sat back down and shut up, still trying to figure out what was going on. To me, it was just overnight. They're over there whispering back and forth, looking at me. And I'm thinking, is there a hole in my pants or what? So, here come the teacher in there. I didn't know this teacher very well. Only seen him a few times. He come there and looked straight at me and he goes, what are you doing in here? I said, well, I followed the rest of my classmates in. You don't belong in here. Where do I belong? I'm going to write you a pass in case somebody stops you. Get back to the 1st grade room. But these are my... He goes, you heard me. Don't make me send you to the principal's office. Well, that's weird. But I ain't going to argue. So I got my pass, and I'm looking at everybody like, what the hell's really going on here? But I headed on out the door, made my right-hand turn, made another right-hand turn, went out that door, followed the sidewalk out and down past the teacher's lounge and cafeteria, and there's a gravel opening there, a space, and then there's the next 2 rooms, which was the kindergarten and 1st grade rooms. Oh, down there, and when you get there, you got to turn to your left and step up on a 1-step concrete platform like. And there's a double door there. You open the door, and that's just a glassed-in area. To the right was kindergarten. To the left was 1st grade room. So I'm got tears run down. And I walk in there, and I didn't know this teacher either. Like, who the hell is this here? Maybe it's one of those substitutes. So I walk in there, and I'm trying to wipe the tears, and I give her my pass. She goes, just take a seat anywhere. I'm in shock. Somehow overnight, I lost some years. Where the hell did those years go? Where was I at and what was I doing during them 5 or 6 years? All the kids I started in kindergarten with, went into first grade with, and now they're way up there, and I'm back here in first grade. Don't make any damn sense to me. So I look around, and everybody's kind of looking at me like, don't sit by me. Well, I looked around and finally spotted a friendly face, two faces actually, a sister and a brother. So I went over there and I said, you mind if I sit here? No, have a seat. So one of them moved over and I slid in between them, that way I could talk to both of them. So I'm sitting there, and this teacher was a real bitch. I won't say her name, but her name fit her personality. She had a personality of a panther that's had all of its toenails pulled out with a pair of pliers. And if that wasn't bad enough, she had the face to match it. Damn, that woman was mean. So she was tell me all of us her name. Then she told us to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, we'd done that. Well, I'm sitting back there, and she comes around, and is there any question you want to ask me? Well, I watched her come to each kid and ask them. When she got to us, the girl asked her a question. She answered it. She looked at me and she goes, what about you? I said, yeah, I hope you got an answer for me. She goes, hopefully I do too. What's your question? I said, where in the hell have I been for the past 5 years? She's like, don't be a smart aleck. I said, I'm serious. Yesterday, you wasn't a teacher here. She got this stupid look on her face. Told me she goes out in the hallway. Okay. Maybe she won't give me the answer I want out there. So I go out there and she goes, I will not tolerate no smart alecks. I said, I wasn't being a smart aleck. It's a legitimate question. Now, yesterday, I was here with the kids up there that's in 6th grade. But they were here, and you wasn't a teacher. I said, now, I went last night and talked to the principal, me and my parents. And I'm wanting to know why I'm in school, because I was not supposed to come back to school until next year. She goes, okay, since you said you went to the principal's house, what was her name? So I told her. Now, this teacher was bug-eyed like a bullfrog. And I thought her eyes were going to pop out and smack me in the forehead. She goes, I don't know what kind of scam you're trying to pull. That lady hasn't been principal here for 5 years. But now I'm really mad. Now, you got to understand something. I hung around with my dad and his brothers. So I could cuss like a sailor. And I'd had about enough of her. I was confused and started to get really aggravated. And I said, really? I go to sleep last night. 5 or 6 years has passed. Why don't you just take me down there to the principal's office and I'll have that principal tell you I was at her house last night. She goes, I'm telling you, she passed away about 5 years ago. And I was really getting mad, and I said, listen here, ma'am. You are so fucking full of shit. That's the reason why your eyes are brown. You full of shit all the way up to your eyeballs. Dude, she grabbed me by the frickin' ear, turned it, and lifted. We're going to the principal's office. Okay, she'll straighten it out. We get down there, straight into the principal's office. Well, there was the secretary sitting over there on a typewriter trying to type. I don't know what she was typing, but she stopped and she goes, what's going on? She said, I got not only a smart aleck, but I also got a cusser. He cussed me out. She looked at me and she goes, Henry, did you cuss her out? And I was still mad. I said, you damn right I did. You don't like it, call my dad. All of a sudden, I heard somebody come in behind me. It was a principal, and it was a guy. I knew this guy from the other day. He was a teacher. He was an asshole. I didn't like him. Somehow he'd become principal. I don't know how this guy got the brains to step up, but somebody made him principal. He didn't like my dad, and I didn't like him. So he proceeds to ask the teacher what seemed to be the problem. She tells him. He goes, now I want to hear your side of it. I said, what do you want me to tell you? She has told you. He goes, did you cuss her out? I said, you goddamn right I did. And if you don't like it, the secretary don't like it, the teacher don't like it, call my dad. He'll tell you where to get off. Into the library. So we headed across the hallway to the library, and he tells everybody that's in there to get out. He shuts the door. He goes, I can take care of you real fast. I said, what do you mean you take care of me real fast? He said, well, I think probably about 3 swats are to do it. I said, let me tell you something. I've been through a lot this week. My dad, you best call him before you do this. Because let me tell you something, you're going to regret it. Just fair warning. And my parents told me to be good. And I ain't supposed to be doing certain things. But I'm telling you, you best think twice. You're about to get a big surprise. So he goes into the office and slams the library door and grabs that big giant boat oar of a paddle, has the holes in it, looked like a fucking rugby bat. He comes back and he said, put your hands on that table. I just laughed at him. That pissed him off even worse. So I bent over and put my hand there, and I seen him over there rubbing his hands together and act like he spit in his hand. He grabbed that paddle. He took about 3 steps toward me, and by that time he swung, that paddle flew out and knocked the damn window out in the library. I laughed. That made it even madder. He grabbed me by the shirt here in the front, and when he started to pick me up, I think there was maybe every book in that library come off and pelleted him. I got up, walked out of the library, and him and the teacher from the 1st grade was picking books off themselves, wondering what the hell just happened. I went straight to the office. Told the office lady I needed her to call my parents. I'm going home. That principal I didn't like got his ass up, come in there, and he goes, I think we need to call your parents. I said, that's just what I told her. She goes, what? He goes, what the hell's wrong with you? I said, I warned you. You ain't never seen the likes of me. They called my parents, and my mom wasn't too thrilled about it, but she come and got me and harped on me all the way home. Of course, when my dad got home, he just kind of laughed about it. He thought it was funny as hell. He didn't like that principal anyway. So, Mom's mad because Dad won't grind on my ass. Dad, he's over there just rolling, laughing. He goes, the only thing that would have been even funnier, Henry, is if you'd use your mind, pick up that paddle and beat his ass with it. That's what the thought had crossed my mind. I said, but here's a little kicker for you. That paddle went straight through that library window. Not the big window. My dad said, tomorrow I'm taking you to school. I want to see that window. I said, dude, you won't believe it. That paddle went out of his hand, through that window, out past the grass, and landed out in the middle of the road. I said, funniest damn thing I ever seen. He goes, did you cause that? I was like, I think so. I was like, I was scared that was going to hurt. I said, hell, it looked like a damn boat oar. He just laughed. He thought that funny as hell. Well, anyway, I'll end this show right now, and I might think about doing another one here in just a few minutes after I have a smoke. So stick around and see what happens. Thank you very much.